I missed you, DW.
Happy Halloween, everyone. I wanted to celebrate the spookiest day of the year by covering the highly requested Halloween episode, Arthur and the Haunted Treehouse. I'll be honest, I had no idea this special even existed. I never got into the later seasons of Arthur, so you can imagine my surprise to discover they made an hour-long Halloween anthology movie. Having watched the special, I can definitely see why you all wanted me to cover it. That being said, there are a surprising number of side stories sprinkled throughout this hour-long TV movie. I'm not sure I can even keep track of them all.
We can help you there.
Wait, who are you guys?
Hello, everybody. My name's Kingnusmi.
And I'm Stagehands Inn.
And I'm Xentenial.
Oh, hey, would you all want to help me review this Arthur Halloween special?
Yeah, sounds good to me.
I'm in.
I thought you said this was going to be a haunting hour video.
Great. Before we get started though, I want to remind you all to please hit the subscribe button. We're so close to 40,000 subs, so help me reach that milestone so I can tear the Barney movie to shreds. Let's not waste any more time and delve right in. This video is brought to you by viewers like you. Thank you. Make sure to subscribe and help get this video to 4,000 likes.
And I say, hey!
It's Halloween night in Elwood City and everyone is out trick-or-treating. We see the tormenting Tibbles are dressed as mimes, which is pretty ironic considering these two never shut the hell up. Though I am digging Grandma Thora's big bad wolf costume, Arthur and Buster are hanging at the treehouse with LaDonna, who's telling spooky stories in her copyright-free Black Widow costume. Turns out Arthur and Buster are wearing the same costumes they had from Hick or Treat, which either means the special takes place at the same time as that episode, which would make no sense, or these kids wore the same lame costumes 2 years in a row. You heard me. Candy Boy is just a weak-ass Hulk ripoff.
Candy boy get angry when he no get candy.
Weak.
Just then, Arthur gets spooked by some strange sound coming from outside. He peeks his head out, only to find there's nobody there.
Maybe it was angry villagers, Frankenstein. I'm not Frankenstein. I'm Frankentist. That's a combination of Frankenstein and a dentist.
Did Arthur Reed, the kid who's read the whole damn library, really just confuse Dr. Frankenstein with Frankenstein's monster? Arthur continues to act jumpy, and Buster asks if he mixed sour gummy worms with peanut clusters, which is the PBS equivalent of greening out. Arthur claims that the treehouse is haunted. Gasp! Buster and LaDonna laugh in his face, but Arthur insists a ghost is after him and it's only a matter of time before she arrives. Arthur claims he's seen the ghost with his own eyes, all 4 of them. He's hesitant to share his story, but we got 50 more minutes to fill, so get to it. Arthur explains how it all started the week before Halloween. Flashbacks ensue. Mrs. Reed is reluctant to let the kids have a sleepover in the treehouse. Arthur insists it'll be fun, cause I guess he's never slept outside in October before. Just then, the Halloween Queen of Mean barges in and tries to invite herself to Arthur's sleepover. Arthur says it'll be too scary for her, while DW insists she's only scared of octopuses. And we all remember how that turned out.
Let me down! No!
DW claims she's 10 times braver than her brother, right before he pranks her ass. DW chews out Arthur for his mean joke, even though she's pulled way worse pranks on him. She claims she was just pretending to be scared, the same way her parents are pretending their daughter isn't the future bride of Satan. Arthur bans DW from his sleepover. Mrs. Reed tells her daughter she can spend the night with Grandma Thora, since the Reed parents will likely be spending the night at Mr. Ratburn's house. DW is still butthurt about being called a scaredy cat, and plots her vengeance against Arthur. The next day, Arthur goes looking in the attic for Halloween decorations, and we see he still hasn't returned that goddamn Scare Your Pants Off book. Trust me, I'll have plenty to say about that episode later. It turns out the lights don't work, but that doesn't matter since he brought a flashlight. Then why the hell did you bother with the lights? Arthur shines the light around the room and stumbles across the dollar store Bride of Chucky. Instead of leaving it alone, like a person who values their life, Arthur picks up the porcelain Cyclops. He discovers the doll's name is Zelda and insists on bringing her downstairs, even though you would think he's read enough Scare Your Pants Off books to know better than to tempt fate with this obvious murder puppet. He tries to show Zelda to his father, only to find the one-eyed demon doll has gone missing. Mr. Reed shrugs it off instead of running for the hills.
Say goodbye to the house, kids.
Arthur next takes the decorations to the treehouse, where an unseen entity calls out his name. Arthur thinks it's just the wind, though I'm surprised the wind recognized him without his yellow sweater. Arthur climbs up the ladder and finds a threatening message scribbled on the inside of the treehouse, and you can tell it's a threat since they clearly underlined the possessive adjective. LaDonna thinks it was just DW playing a trick, even though Arthur points out DW can't write. He says he went to check on the treehouse just before the sleepover, and found Zelda sitting ominously in the corner. LaDonna claims Arthur is a big fat liar.
Come on, you're making this up. I'm not I swear.
Yeah, LaDonna, who do you think he is? LaDonna? Arthur explains he got rid of the doll by burying it under a rock less than 20 feet from the treehouse. Because if the haunted mask has taught us anything, it's that burying a cursed object always resolves the problem. The kids try to come up with a rational explanation for the creepy doll's mysterious actions.
Maybe Zelda's an alien. That's a rational explanation?
It's about as rational as an aardvark owning a dog. Just then, the kids get scared by the most terrifying thing imaginable. Francine in a dress. The petrifying prom queen explains how she just had her own horrifying encounter. Arthur thinks she had a run-in with Zelda, but Francine claims her ordeal was much scarier.
I'll be the judge of that. So every Halloween, Francine's apartment puts out a list of apartments that the kids can trick or treat at. Though I don't know why Molly and James are here. Do they have some kind of secret apartment that their parents don't know about? Francine makes a habit of going to every single apartment that's on the list. She even visits her neighbor that hands out prunes. Then again, Francine does tend to be full of crap. Francine is down to the last apartment on her list. 237. Some of you may have already figured it out, but this is actually a reference to room 237 from The Shining, where a little kid gets attacked by a ghost of a mysterious old woman. Francine finds that the apartment belongs to a mysterious old woman. I don't like where this is going. The woman invites her inside and Francine just goes in with no hesitation. Has this girl never heard of stranger danger? What? The woman is looking at old pictures of what she claims is a golem, which is a monster made of clay but then is brought to life by black magic. She took the photo when she was a little girl growing up in Prague, though I imagine living in Prague in the 1940s was its own horror story. She remembers that there was a violinist whose music was so beautiful. It was even rumored to bring plants back to life. Even this old dude was thinking, wow, my house was destroyed by an air raid, and this is the craziest thing I've seen all week. Tragically, the violinist gets hit by a trolley and breaks all his fingers. How does that even happen? Did he run into it like hands first? This leaves him unable to play the violin. So he does what every dejected musician does. Resort to dark arts. He creates a golem using the shattered remains from his violin. Wait, is that supposed to be his... Oh. Never mind. The creature comes to life and ends up killing the violinist. Who could have seen that coming? The woman says the golem went on a rampage and attacked the whole town. Francine asks her, how did she escape? And the woman ominously replies, she didn't. Francine finally gets her candy and then she realizes that she still has one of the neighbor's photos. So she goes to return it only for a different man to answer the door. The man explains that this photo is from his sister who disappeared when they were kids.
Wait, does that mean...
Yep, Francine was talking to a ghost the whole time. Kinda weird that they tacked a ghost reveal onto a story about a clay monster, but whatever, it's spooky.
Thanks, King. Buster is jealous that everyone has seen a ghost except him, which is like being jealous of missing class the day your school burns down. Oh wait, Francine borrows Buster's phone to call Muffy.
I waited for 45 minutes.
Why do these kids have smartphones? I don't care if I offend my main audience. 8-year-olds do not need smartphones.
Why don't I think things over a bit? Muffy chews out Francine for not going trick-or-treating with her, cause I guess these two are perpetually glued at the hip. We see Muffy is dressed as Alice from Wonderland, which is kinda clever since her middle name is Alice. What I don't get is why she has Bailey biking her all around town. Not that I think she's too lazy to walk, she definitely is. I figured she'd just be taking a limo door to door to get candy. Muffy is on her way to the McNeil's house to get some S-tier candy when her phone dies and her bike gets a flat tire. Bailey says they can patch the tire with chewing gum, but Muffy says she doesn't have any. Are you not even going to check your basket for a piece of Double Bubble? Or even Hubba Bubba to be exact? Muffy says they can't go home until they get to the McNeil's house.
The McNeils give out chocolate truffles and pralines.
That's what you consider S-tier candy? Have you ever actually had pralines? They taste like someone left a payday bar in the sun for a month. Muffy is horrified by the thought of having to walk, while I'm horrified by front-facing Bailey. Muffy insists on taking a shortcut through the cemetery, cause even bratty rich girls aren't immune to horror movie cliches. She teases Bailey for being a scaredy dog, and the two are nearly attacked by an owl. Ooh, that's very scary. Muffy says she isn't scared of ghosts because she has no soul.
I have no soul.
She remembers how last Halloween she and Francine dared each other to run through the cemetery at night. And I would say that's a bit extreme until you remember Muffy once dared Francine to break into Arthur's room and steal his socks. Girl dares are just more hardcore than I thought. Bailey is still freaked out by the cemetery, though some of these headstones are hilarious. I love the epitaph that just says, I told you I was sick. Dude pieced out with a massive chip on his shoulder. Muffy says she misses getting scared on Halloween, though it's hard to scare someone who's already a monster. Things get worse as it starts to rain and the two take shelter under the mausoleum. Just then, Muffy hears a sickly growling sound and spots a pair of yellow eyes in the dark. The two nearly faint on the spot until it turns out just to be a lost cat. Bailey tries to calm the poor kitten, but ends up getting torn to shreds and also possibly peed on. Gross. Muffy takes pity on her poor butler when the demon cat recognizes her as its true master. Turns out the cat belongs to the Kruger family on Elm Street, which is another not so subtle nod to a horror movie I'm pretty sure falls outside of PBS Kids' target audience. Come on, we all know which one. Bailey says that they should return the cat to its owner, but Muffy whines that it's in the opposite direction and suggests leaving the cat to fend for itself. Bailey guilts her into doing the right thing, and the two bring the cat along with them. For plot development. They head back to the main entrance only to find that they've been locked in the cemetery. What is it with Arthur kids getting locked in random places? Bailey helps Muffy climb over the fence. He then tries to jump the fence and ends up losing his shoe and tearing a hole in his jacket. My man Bailey doesn't get paid enough for this. The two make it to Elm Street while they walk in on the Reed parents at a key party. Seriously, why else would this busty Catwoman have a whip? The Krugers thank Muffy for finding their cat and invite her inside. Come on, girl. Stranger danger. Don't all those Dare ads mean anything in the 90s? Muffy finally gets a chance to charge her phone as she realizes that the Kruger's house is even better than the McNeils. The Reed parents offer to give her a ride to Haunted Treehouse when we see a familiar face at the party. Muffy runs into the same old woman from Francine's building. She starts to tell Muffy the same story she told Francine. When we find out that she's there with her husband, but wait, I thought she was her brother. Something's not adding up here.
Never mind that. Let's get back to the main story. The kids huddle in the treehouse as the rain starts pouring. Gee, maybe having a sleepover in a treehouse wasn't such a good idea after all. The kids spot an ominous figure running toward the treehouse, which turns out to be Binky in his luchador costume. The big-headed bully explains how he just got back from his failed attempt to TP Mr. Ratburn's house. We then cut to another damn side story. Someone want to take this one?
With pleasure. Turns out Binky got dared to toilet paper his teacher's house after losing a bet with the tough customers. He brings along a year's worth of TP, only to find that Mr. Ratburn is really into Halloween. Really into Halloween. Binky almost immediately chickens out before being accosted by this rabid raven. Turns out Ratburn rigged his whole house into an Edgar Allan puppet show. Binky is greeted by the Mask of the Red Death, who promises him untold treasures if he makes it through the house. And yeah, I know Ratburn is Binky's teacher, but seriously, stranger danger. Binky wanders into the main room where he witnesses a scene right out of the Telltale Heart. He gets spooked by the thumping in the floorboards and bolts for the exit. Looks like he might be using that toilet paper after all. Speaking of which, Binky suddenly remembers that he left his backpack full of TP in Mr. Ratburn's house. He runs out into the rain to get it back before he gets detention for a year. Meanwhile, Mr. Ratburn starts to regret investing half his annual salary into his niche Halloween spooky house. He starts to tear down the decorations when he gets tangled in cobwebs and scares the sound out of the malicious mime twins. Ratburn finds Binky's backpack and starts thinking up ways to get back at the mischievous meathead. Binky gets to the house only to realize he's too late. Ratburn tells Binky he won't punish him if he goes through the haunted house. Though I'm still not sure Binky understands the puppets are controlled by his teacher.
And perhaps your punishment he will spare.
You don't know, Mr. Ratburn. I'm doomed.
Binky goes back inside and finds a collection of Poe's stories under the floorboards, which Ratburn claims are a treat for his mind. What a crock. Binky goes to the next room where he finds Ratburn trapped behind a brick wall. He tells Binky to identify which Poe story the room is based on, and Binky starts pulling answers out of his ass.
The gold bug.
No.
Eleonora? The pit in the pendulum?
Ratburn breaks character to scold him for not knowing the Cask of Amontillado. Though, to be fair to Binky, half of Poe's stories are about people being buried alive. Binky ends up destroying the room while Ratburn laments he hasn't had any trick-or-treaters. Binky apologizes for trying to TP his house, and Mr. Ratburn returns his backpack, but not before showing him the rest of the house.
I'm particularly proud of my Fall of the House of Usher room.
Is that just a room where your roof caved in?
You might want to get this fixed right away.
Is that it? Are the side stories done now? Can we finally get back to the main story? I know this is an anthology special, but this feels like a lot of stories to juggle for just 1 hour. I'm not sure why they keep cutting away from Arthur in the Treehouse when the special is called Arthur and the Haunted Treehouse. Anyways, the kids are about to settle in for the night when Zelda's voice echoes throughout the treehouse. The kids all run like bats out of hell, all except for LaDonna. The rabbit girl watches her friends flee in terror while she laughs her ass off.
The looks on their faces.
What the hell is going on? The kids run inside, and DW jumps at the chance to call her brother a weenie. Arthur tries to warn her about Zelda's vengeful wrath, but DW is still angry she didn't get invited to his sleepover. Good God, girl, let it go. You didn't get this upset when you weren't invited to your friend's birthday party. Oh wait! The kids suddenly realize LaDonna is still outside. The frightened fibber comes running in and claims she was nearly attacked by Zelda. DW and Bud continue to laugh at the older kids while they take LaDonna upstairs so she can change into one of Mrs. Reed's old sweaters.
Smelly old things.
I mean, that is a fair point. How often does Arthur wash his sweaters? Surprise, surprise, it turns out LaDonna was in cahoots with DW the whole time, and the creepy voice was just Bud on a walkie-talkie. DW brags how she's now the bravest sibling, and LaDonna reveals she dug up the doll so they can play one last prank on Arthur. Francine ends up overhearing the whole thing and helps Arthur plot his revenge. Later that night, the kids are watching a black and white movie about cow mummies, sure, while the petty pranksters put the demonic doll on Arthur's bed. DW asks Arthur to get her blankie from his room, which she agrees to in exchange for 12 pieces of her Halloween candy. DW waits for Arthur to piss his pants, only for her brother to return with the blankie and dry underwear. DW fumes as she watches her brother eat her Halloween candy. DW and the bastard bunnies head upstairs to find Zelda has gone missing. They search the room only to find a trail of tiny footprints leading out of the room. Before they can figure out what's going on, Buster leads them back downstairs so we can set up the next stage of the prank. LaDonna and Bud decide to cut their losses and head home. They're barely out the door when a ghastly voice starts coming out of LaDonna's backpack. LaDonna looks inside and finds it's full of rubber spiders. She finds the walkie-talkie and surprisingly takes the joke in stride. Arthur gets the ultimate revenge by hiding Zelda at the foot of DW's bed. DW discovers the demon doll under her pile of toys and screams her head off.
I missed you, DW.
Sadly, Arthur's victory is short-lived when the Reed parents return home with Muffy and DW tries to paint herself as the victim.
Arthur put a creepy doll in my bed and scared me really bad. She ruined my whole sleepover.
Guess whose side they take? Arthur's parents force him to cancel his sleepover and send everyone home. Meanwhile, Muffy reveals Francine's neighbors pull the same Golem prank on kids every year, and the petty prom queen is too prideful to admit she fell for it. Later that night, DW is still scared, and Arthur lets her stay in his room. Arthur admits he's impressed by how elaborate DW's prank was. DW explains she started plotting her scheme the moment after Arthur pranked her with the cereal box. She elaborates how she got Bud and LaDonna to help her scare him.
Sure, I'll help you get him back.
Oh, come on, why does the 4-year-old need a smartphone? We're then shown how DW pulled off every part of her scheme, even though most of it was already obvious from context. But whatever, we gotta fill the whole hour, I guess. The Reed siblings apologize for pranking each other, and everything goes back to normal. Or does it? The two are about to fall asleep when they suddenly hear maniacal laughter. The duo shits their pants when it's revealed it was baby Kate and Grandma Thora the whole time. Oh, so this whole family is just fucked then. Let's review. DW tried to invite herself to her brother's sleepover and got mad when he pulled a very mild prank on her. She spent a whole week plotting her revenge and slowly drove her brother mad with this Barbie doll from hell. She convinced his friends to help terrify her brother and effectively ruined his sleepover. When Arthur pranked her back, she ratted them out to their parents, who canceled the whole sleepover. And even when the two finally made up, it turned out the rest of the Reed family is just as bad as DW, because I guess pranking your friends and family is wrong unless you're the one pulling the prank. But DW wasn't the only jerkwad in this episode, lest we forget Muffy, who dragged her poor butler through the cemetery at night just to get some mediocre candy. She waffled on returning a lost cat to its owners until she was guilted into doing the right thing. Plus there's Binky, who's such a weak prankster he couldn't even TP his own teacher's house, though Mr. Ratburn probably deserved it considering how craptastic his haunted house was. In short, everyone in this special was absolutely awful. Let's round it out, guys.
F you LaDonna and Bud for helping DW with her petty revenge scheme, and F you Francine for falling for the silliest Halloween prank in the book.
F you Muffy for nearly abandoning a poor cat in favor of candy. Also F you Grandma Thora and Baby Kate for stooping to DW's level and making the final lesson of the episode moot.
F you, Binky, for trying to TP your teacher's home. And F you, Mr. Ratburn, for turning your haunted house into a homework assignment.
And of course, for ruining her brother's sleepover and turning everyone against each other with an endless barrage of pranks. F you, DW. Hey everyone, I want to give a big thank you to Kingnusmi, Stagehands Inn, and Xentenial for appearing in this video. Go subscribe to their channels and let me know who I should collab with next. Make sure to check out my Patreon where you can get early access to all my videos and can commission me for future reviews. Become a top tier patron to get priority consideration. Have a great Halloween, and I'll see you all next time.
And I say, hey, what a wonderful kind of day. If you could learn to work and play.